Last Friday night, we were all riveted to the TV screen as a white Ford Bronco traveled the interstate for over 90 minutes. Behind the wheel, Al Cowling. In the back, O.J. Simpson, threatening suicide with a gun to his head. At least those were the reports, until he finally got back into his house. Police able at that time to get him to surrender, and now he's in jail, charged with 2 counts of murder against him. Joining us now from Joe Robbie Stadium, Joe Angel, the play-by-play voice of the Florida Marlins, who was the high school quarterback with O.J. Simpson back in San Francisco, Galileo High School. Joe, as you went back to the week and all the allegations came out against O.J. Simpson, take me through the week and how you looked at everything and what you were thinking about.
Well, I think I was just like everybody else in this country. You know, I couldn't wait to turn on the radio and put on the television set, read the newspaper accounts as to what was happening with O.J. I think, like most people in this country, I think that's why people have taken this so personally, because they feel they know O.J. They've seen him on television, in the movies, on the football field, and he's become one of them. And I think this is why people, it's so close to them. They feel like they know O.J., and in a way, they're being attacked. So just a lot of anticipation, I guess. I'm just glad O.J.'s alive. As I said before, it's impossible to try to make sense out of this, but maybe now we can get some answers and find out exactly what did happen. We have to remember, guys, that O.J. is still innocent until proven guilty. That's a very difficult thing to do right now. I think most people in this country have O.J. convicted already, but we're going to have to wait and see on this.
Joe, when I talked to you on Friday, you seemed almost numb. At that point, O.J. was a fugitive and no one knew where he was. You even brought up the word suicide at that point. Take us through that evening. Once again, I noticed that you said it was one of the longest nights for you ever.
It was one of the hardest games I've ever had to broadcast because I couldn't really concentrate on what was going on the field. I think I had one eye on the field, I had one eye on the television sets, and I had my other eye on the wire reports that were coming on. I wasn't able to hear the letter that O.J. had written, so I'm reading the letter between batters at Joe Robbie Stadium. It was a very difficult thing to do. I was convinced until they saw the vehicle on the California freeway that O.J., they're going to find him somewhere and dead, because I felt that by then he had taken his own life after what had transpired. I was very relieved when I found out O.J. was alive and breathing, and it didn't surprise me at all that Al Cowling was right in the middle of it, because you have to remember that Cowling and O.J. go back to junior high school in San Francisco. They are best of friends. It's almost like they were born together, and they remain that way. I think Al would do anything to help O.J., and obviously now he's risking becoming a felon. So I think, who knows, maybe Al Cowling is the guy who kept O.J. alive, and if he did, I'm grateful to Al Cowling.
Joe, one thing about O.J., I think everybody, as you mentioned earlier, feels so close to O.J. Simpson. We feel like we all know him. I have never met a Hall of Fame athlete in my life who everybody feels like they know. And whether you've met him on a golf course or seen him, everybody feels like they know this guy. And because of that, I get the feel that a lot of people just are in shock over this. Have you ever met an athlete before who has touched all of us the way he has in the past?
Yeah, he's. I think he's one of the few. I'm trying to think as I speak, and really, not that many. I can't think of any. Maybe a Joe Namath, and he had his moments. If someone like a Kevin Mitchell, had this happened to a Kevin Mitchell, the Cincinnati ball club, and his background, you say, well, maybe you wouldn't be all that surprised. Or maybe a Mike Tyson, if it happened to him. But an O.J. Simpson, I mean, universally liked by just about everyone. It was very shocking. And that's why if it could happen to O.J., hey, it could happen to you and me. I mean, we're all fallible. And, hey, I am so glad that he is still breathing and with us, so that maybe we can find out exactly why this had to happen.
Well, looking to the future, Joe, we were talking about how athletes are put up on this pedestal and they're given favorable treatment throughout their lives, as is the case with O.J. Simpson. Just reading the reports, he's in a 7 by 9 foot cell, and he's got a sink and just a mattress there. How long do you think that he can exist in this lifestyle?
Boy, that's, I don't know. I don't think that O.J. feels he can exist for very long, because I think he was serious about maybe taking his own life at that time. And as he looked ahead, maybe he thought it was hopeless, and the idea of living in a cell like that, or maybe eventually, if it gets down to it, maybe getting a gas chamber in California. That's something that I don't think any of us can cope with. And when you're faced with it like O.J. has been, it's almost understandable to see the way he reacted. As far as preferential treatment, it's kind of an interesting point because I've heard this on the radio and I've heard it on television. And people said now the Los Angeles Police Department has been criticized for the way they let O.J. just kind of run loose on the freeway in California and waited until he was good and ready to give up in that situation. And if it had been you or I, it might have been handled differently. But if it had been you or I, it would not have been on national television with about 7 or 8 helicopters, following this chase scene in California. So I just don't think there's any way you can make sense out of that situation. I think in a way down the line, it could hurt O.J., his notoriety, because people are paying so much attention that the police department in Los Angeles is going to have to be very careful to do things exactly the right way. It could work for him. It could work against him. Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see on this.
All right, Joe Angel, play-by-play announcer for the Florida Marlins. You've been invaluable over the last few days at letting us know perhaps the insight, knowing O.J. back in your high school days. Again, thanks for joining us on Sports Final.
Okay, great.